I started with WCTV in the very beginning, and I kind of lose track of time. It's probably 86 or 87. I heard of what was happening. I had been a still photographer in the Army, and this was right up my alley. I said, this is going to be a lot of fun. Video equipment, which was relatively new back then, mostly VHS, Super VHS, editing, learning how to edit, how to put shows together. I just found it fascinating and jumped on board.
I've been here since January of 1992.
I think I've been at WCTV about 9 years.
A newspaper article in the local paper says, "Come on down. We'll train you. You'll do television." And this was an enterprising place, and the person's name was Karen Kirk and Enterprise, and that's a Star Trek-y thing. But anyway, I came down and took the class, and a lot of the people I took the class with really got interested and involved in WCTV.
I'd had a little experience with movie cameras. A Super 8, I think, is the camera that I started with. So we had some old vintage films of my family and my parents and my wedding, etc. So that was why it interested me to come down to WCTV.
Not everything works the way you would expect it to work. I'm part of the 4th of July committee, and just about the time we started here at the station, I decided that it would be fun to have a half marathon on a Saturday morning, and we did it, and it was a fun thing, and 4 or 5 people showed up, and I directed them around the course on my bike. Working out pretty good. I thought we'd do it again the following year. Well, the following year, nobody showed up. And so I said, well, somebody's got to run this thing. So I went out on my own, thinking I could just cruise. Well, what happened was the new WCTV station manager decided it was an event to cover. And every time I turned a corner, there was a camera in my face. So I had to keep up the facade and make it seem I was really enjoying this thing. I think I probably set a course record that year, and by the time it ended, I was a very happy guy that it was over.
On the first class that I took, I met a woman that I had been friendly with already, Cheryl Soderquist, and she and I started to partner up together. And we worked together on our first big production, which was a video of the graduating class, I believe it was like 1990, but I'm not sure. And we asked for pictures from the class, and we got a deluge of pictures and divided them up into different events, different sports events, and literally worked for a solid week down here, editing it, putting the pictures in, filming them. Our husbands were bringing us lunch and dinner. It was school vacation week, so we stayed here, and we just fell in love with the project. And it was such a great thing to do. It was like a gift to that particular graduating class of Wilmington High School.
The work that I did with the veterans, I think, stands out in my mind as far as TV productions. I've taken Memorial Days and Veterans Days, and also we've done World War II veterans and some of the Vietnam work.
We did a music show here, and that was fun to do because no one else was doing that kind of thing. And WCTV was sort of like the movie industry when it was in its infancy, like say 100 years ago. Well, WCTV was sort of the spit and chewing gum You made things happen. You created things to make the production work, and it was all fun to do.
One of the shows that I really enjoyed doing was a story of Big Bertha a pumpkin. It's the story of a pumpkin. My neighbor Hugh Weberg, who you might know, he does the bird column in the Town Crier. He grew these large pumpkins. Some people refer to them as squumpkins, but in actual fact, he says they're pumpkins. He had one around 450 pounds back then, and I still have a picture of my daughter sitting on it. Since then, he's grown some massive pumpkins, and in I believe it was 2000, he grew I think about an 850 pounder, maybe a little more. And we did a show on the growing of the pumpkin, and then later on we did part 2, which was harvesting it and getting it off to the Topsfield Fair. I think Hugh came in the 8th or 9th place. He was really thrilled. It just so happens he happened to pick the year that the world record was set. Someone grew a 1,250 pounder that year. But the shows came out really neat, and it was actually one of the first shows I did with at that time, the new digital equipment, which I find fascinating.
Operation Safe Prom, that's sort of like and I've done a couple of those where you're actually doing a mock-up for a disaster. Corey McNeil had a show. Trying to remember the name of it. People would come here at midnight, and he'd have all kinds of snacks on the table to get people. He had coffee, he had stuff, and it was a night show. From what I understand, a lot of people like to watch it. You wouldn't think so, but it was a funny show. He had a good sense of humor.
One of the things I remember about the early days is that everyone who was on that particular group that started to work on the cable TV was serious. We wanted to do it right. We wanted to do it right the first time. We wanted to look all around and make sure we had covered all the bases, because we did feel, and I believe correctly, that WCTV was going to be a wonderful asset for the town and a wonderful resource for people and projects.
When I first came to WCTV, one person ran this whole place. If you can picture that, there was 2 channels, and there were 3 cameras behind me. Now this was a 2-camera studio, which made things a whole lot difficult.
The lady that was at WCTV at the time, the director, that was Ruth Kennedy. She had been given a pile of tapes that were free to be used. So she gave me a whole bunch of them, and I was able to just start taking video. As long as I got my batteries recharged, I could just keep on making programs. And I had a good time doing that.
My favorite things about the time I've spent here at WCTV is that we've built a lot of traditions. We started out doing all the video work because nobody was here to do that. We learned how to use the cameras and equipment. And now we have a Santa program that's run for innumerable years. We've done graduations, we've done the promenade every year, fashion shows, all the musical Christmas programs have been done every year. And different volunteers have picked up on that.
WCTV has Channel 22, which is the political channel, and we broadcast all the selectmen's meetings, all the school committee meetings, the election coverage, and any special meetings that come up at any time. This is a very important part of this station. This is what is making this thing fly. People look to us for that information, and other things like winter when the children have no school. that information can be found on WCTV. Plus, we run a bulletin board that runs 24 hours a day that can inform you of anything that's going on in this town.
We do the school committee and selectmen's meetings, and you would think that it was the case, but there are a lot of people that watch that. And WCTV is a pillar of technology.
Things that WCTV has done for me. I'm being retired now. My neighbor Dick Grinder, we've been neighbors for 35 years, and we were friendly, but we never really got together socially. Now I see Dick just about every day. He's here doing projects, keeps him busy, keeps me busy. We're now into this new digital editing, which is just a wonderful way of handling this video. And the camaraderie, the new people who are working here, the young people I run across, it's just a great way to spend your spare time, and I recommend it highly to anybody. If you're a photography person or you want to learn how to do video and it's interesting, come on down.
There's several things that I've gotten involved in that are particularly close to my heart. I did a program, I met a woman who had had a heart transplant and did a whole program about her. The program was called Heart of My Heart. And that program was a particular thrill to do because I had an opportunity to interview her and several of her friends that she had made since she had had a heart transplant. Some of them have passed on, but she is still alive and doing very well. And that perhaps is one of my favorites. The other programs the other benefits I've received is that from Sports Forum, I've met an awful lot of sports figures. JoJo White, Killer Kowalski. My husband was crewing for the program for Killer Kowalski, and he needed a ride from Malden to here. So my husband went and picked him up, and they had casual conversation coming across, and Paul got a really interesting insight to Killer, and he returned to the program several times, and each time they were buddies. He even gave Paul the Killer hold, or whatever it was called, so it was all a lot of fun.
I've gotten a lot of benefit out of WCTV. I've had a chance to work with a real variety of people, young ones and some not so young, and a very eclectic group, to put it mildly. We had a good time. There's just something about working together with people, and I think it brings out the best in all of us.
WCTV is the best experience for the least amount of money, and it's a good, positive experience. When I first came to WCTV, I expected to be tons and tons of people. It's what people want to do. People like to come down here and produce television, and children produce television. When was the last time you ever heard of that? When I was a kid, this kind of a thing didn't even exist, and for it to exist now, it's a great thing.
If you have anything holding you back as far as training, they'll give it all to you right here. They'll give you the basics, and it's okay to make mistakes. It's a learning process. I'm 74 myself, and I'm still learning. And my friends tell me I haven't learned enough yet.